I bet. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades, friends, people I don't even freaking like. It's Pen Politics. I'm your host, DJ Pinhead. Listen, the Knicks parade is tomorrow. And while I can't be there, I'm going to be watching online. I'm going to be sending my love and energy out like a spirit bomb or something like that. You know what I mean? Because there's no way to describe being a Knicks fan, being from New York, and not being able to be there right now. It's really painful. I'm not even going to hold you. I'm trying my hardest to, act like I'm okay so my wife doesn't call me a big ass baby. I want to just say I would throw my kids in the car and go, but I got really small kids. So even if I went, it would probably be no point because my kids they're not gonna be able to have fun. It's gonna be too crazy and they're gonna get tired fast and I gotta take this out. I'm hoping this is one of those dynasty teams though. Now, the way my son Mikael Bridges was talking, it looks like they really want to go back and try to get another one like tomorrow. And I'm feeling that. So, as a New York Knicks fan, my love and my heart is with those guys and all the people of the city. Let's talk about politics. JD Vance went on The View to make himself look like an idiot. I only saw a couple clips and then I turned it off because I said I might as well just watch it myself and take a look at what's going on because I'm interested in seeing whether or not JD Vance has truly got the minerals to be president. I mean, I think anybody with enough money behind them can obviously do it. But JD Vance strikes me as a wannabe Obama, but like the corniest, lamest white version of it, I guess. I don't know, for lack of a better term. Let's take a look. I don't think Anna was jacking it. Look at her face. She's like, this bitch ass nigga, man. I gotta sit right next to him. God damn it.
I was surprised at how tall you were. He's very tall.
Well, if you only see somebody on TV, you just see their, in my case, giant head. So
We all
it hides how
have
tall I
giant
am.
heads,
That's
yeah.
right.
We are the table of big heads here.
So this is a
Alyssa,
show of MAGA Republicans, right? That's
Yeah,
what my
right,
media
yes.
team told me? Okay, good.
well, we'll find out. I think you have the first question, Alyssa.
Yes, Mr. Vice President, thank you for being with us. Now, you came into office with clear momentum, but when I talk to my friends and family who supported you and the president and still support you and the president, one issue comes up time and time again, and it's the economy. Inflation's up, wages are down, gas prices are starting to drop at news of this Iran deal, which we will get to.
Sure.
What can you say to voters who trusted you to lower costs on day one, and will they be satisfied by November?
Well, I think that's ultimately up to the voters, right? I think voters have every right to expect as much as possible out of their elected representatives. We certainly know that we were elected on a number of mandates. One was to close the border, which I think we've done successfully, exceeded expectations there. Number two was to lower prices, and there's a lot of work to do, in large part because of what's happened over the last few months in the Middle East. But as you said, oil, which got up to $120 a barrel, now is at $80 a barrel. That's going to be reflected in lower fuel, lower food, lower energy prices. But there's a lot more work to do. The thing that I'm proudest about most, because as some of you may know, I grew up in one of these towns that was forgotten by the leaders in Washington of both parties, is that you're seeing, that's Middletown, Ohio. That's my hometown in southwestern Ohio. It was a proud steel town. I was raised by a grandfather who was a union steel worker, is that those jobs disappeared.
That's the part about politics that I hate so much is that whole listen to my origin story fluff bullshit. Like nobody cares that you come from a steel worker family, bro. Your grandfather had a job, nigga. Like,
those factories closed down. The thing that I'm most excited about is you do see a large amount of capital investment coming into our country. Factories being built, construction jobs are way up, manufacturing jobs are starting to catch up. So
nope, that's a lie. I literally think this is a report. Consumer manufacturing jobs literally have declined. They have declined. They're not building any manufacturing jobs in America as of recently. Yeah, I knew I wasn't fucking crazy, man. I knew Vice President J.D. Vance made a false claim about manufacturing jobs in a speech on Monday. Then he made a misleading claim about the same subject while speaking to reporters on Tuesday. On Monday, Vance said that last quarter had the biggest growth in manufacturing employment since Trump's presidency. In fact, last quarter's gain of 18,000 manufacturing jobs was smaller than the gains in six of the Biden administration's 7 full quarters in 21 and 2022. On Tuesday, Vance claimed that there have been great rebounds under the Trump administration and under the leadership and economic statistics. Yeah. Look, listen. They come on to TV and they say these things because these type of shows are kind of like live or whatever, but they know that the people aren't really gonna look it up and fact check it and do that sort of thing, right? We do that here because we're a progressive channel that likes to give out actual accurate information, and we're gonna put the article right there on the screen for you to read along. But we're going to put the article up on the screen for you to check it out yourself and put the link in the description. Hopefully I do it this time. Listen, man. The only way they get a scintilla of the support that they get is if they lie. Other than that, it's just all this core sycophant kind of cult-like base that supports the president for no reason other than the fact that they are loyal to the Republican Party. Bullshit.
there's a lot more work to do. I think that we're making progress, but ultimately we're going to make our pitch to the voters in November, and they're the ones who get to decide whether we've done a good job or not, and that's how they're going to vote.
Okay. So President Trump has
you're gonna
called
try to rig it.
affordability a hoax. He said that, not me. He's pouring money into this ballroom of his and the reflecting pool. Oh, don't forget the Arch de Trompe, I call it, and a White House cage match. All these things. Why is he doing them when you just, everybody knows that Americans are struggling? What is he spending all this money for?
Well, I got to defend the president on the hoax point. What the president said is the idea that Republicans caused the affordability problem is a hoax. And I think that's true. If you go back to the Biden administration, inflation got up to 9% under the Biden administration. Okay?
What?
Right.
So that may be true. We'll give him that. This is post-COVID. Are you on crack? Are you on crack? This is post-COVID. So yeah, 100% inflation was at 9%. Everything was fucked up. Everything, bro. Nothing was on. But then Joe Biden brought it down to 2.9% by the end of 2024. Bring that up. Where's inflation now, buddy? Seems like Trump's had the economy for an entire year and inflation seems to be up 4.2%. Are you serious? How anybody can be a Republican is beyond me. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I can't wrap my head around it. Like, I'm trying my hardest to understand how y'all can deliberately let these people lie to y'all. I feel the same way about these corny, vote blue no matter who Democrats who never learn. They never learn. It's ridiculous. Like, this man, they have to listen. Anytime a Republican tells you numbers, you should always check them. Always. That shit should be rule of thumb. They tell you something was green, you go double check and make sure it wasn't blue or yellow. They tell you inflation was 2%, you go make fucking sure. They tell you that eggs went down 50 cents, you go check. Cause it might be some bullshit. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna get through all this, y'all. And this is a short video. That's crazy.
We're doing everything that we can to bring it back down to 2.5%, which is where most people would like to see it. But we inherited an affordability problem. We're doing a lot to make it better. It's going to take a little.
If inflation was at 2.9%, you didn't inherit an affordability problem. You may have inherited an affordability problem because people are price gouging, but Trump's not stopping that.
Little bit of time. There's a lot more work to do, but the president knows that a lot of Americans are struggling. In fact, he ran on that. He talked about it, and we've done some things and made some good progress on that point.
He just said he loves the inflation.
What he said, Anna, what he said is that he loves the fact that the inflation is going to come down when this war is over. That's what he said.
That's not what he said.
That wasn't a direct. Are you his interpreter?
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning? Could that be a
No, I love it. The numbers look great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, you know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now. And I said, you know, the bad part is the stock market will go down by a lot based on predictions of experts, like 25%. And it was worth it. To me, it was worth it, not to have a nuclear weapon. And the other thing is that oil would go to $250 a barrel. It's at 85.
Can you inflation to come down between now and
when the war's over?
Yes.
It's coming down.
Or are you his vice president? Come on.
Well, look. What the president said. People were asking about the inflation. They were asking about the affordability problem, which again is very real. And what he said is, "I love the inflation because it's going to come down when the war is over." And now, again, we already see gas prices. Gas prices today, $4.06 a gallon, too high, but way down from where they were just a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot we got to do, but I think that we're doing as much as we can. We're going to keep on working at it. And again, the American people are going to make their verdict, but I think that we have a very credible case to run on, that we brought a lot of new investment. We're building the factories. That is going to pay serious dividends for the American people over the long haul.
When?
Well, Joy, if you look at manufacturing jobs,
Okay.
those jobs are increasing at a large number. Construction jobs are doing a little bit better. So what happens is the construction jobs to build the factories, and then the manufacturing workers go back to work. That also leads to rising wages. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of, is if you look at the amount that wages are going up now compared to, say, 2022, they're going up way faster. That's a good thing. You know, the affordability problem. Again, gas, way too high right now. Certain things way too high. You know, rents have been either flat or down for 12 months now. So there are things that are showing signs of life, things that are showing signs of progress. My view, I'm sure you guys don't agree with it, is that we inherited a mess and we're fixing it. But sometimes it takes a long time to fix a mess.
Sonny.
Okay. Mr. Vice President.
2.9% inflation? Record low unemployment? I mean, what? What mess? Like, it's important that we call this out. You can't just say, we inherited a mess and we just try to clean it up. What mess? The only thing you guys are really apparently super passionate about, that you can really get on code about, is that you don't want any brown people here. If that's the mess you're talking about, yeah, then sure, you cleaned that up. Bravo to you. We're so proud of you. But other than that, you didn't do anything, JD.
And according to a new report from the New York Times, you were the leading voice behind the scenes to release the Epstein files, and we applaud you for that. And you warned top officials, including top DOJ officials, at strategy meetings taking place inside the Situation Room. We understand that there are tapes of those meetings, that this was a huge problem for the base. The report says you even floated having Tucker Carlson interview Ghislaine Maxwell to clear the president's name, but you were rebuffed by your people. Why?
Well, I'd say, first of all, don't believe everything that you read in any newspaper, whether it's a right-leaning paper or a left-leaning paper, because as you guys know, well, there are things that are true, things that are false, and things that are totally missing context. Well, here's what I'll say. So, number one, I am frankly kind of a conspiracy theory on the Epstein stuff, and that story says that that's one of the things that's true, is that some people called me a conspiracy theory on the Epstein
Susie
stuff.
Wiles called you a conspiracy
and I love
theorist.
Susie, but absolutely, she thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist on the Epstein stuff, because I think that it's crazy that you had this guy who is clearly a sex predator who is hanging out with a lot of very wealthy and powerful people. Like, that really bothered me. I don't know what's there, of course. Nobody knows exactly what happened unless you were there, but that really bothered me, and I wanted to have full transparency. What I disagree with is the idea that the White House wasn't committed to full transparency. We have to remember, like, I was inside the room when some of these decisions were made. The Epstein Files Transparency Act, the one that the president signed, the one that led to all these files that we're seeing, the emails. By the way, again, sorry, do I have to defend my boss? I know you guys don't always appreciate this, but, you know, one of the things you see in the Epstein emails is that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump literally reported Jeffrey Epstein to the police. That's one of the things that came out of these
They
files.
were best friends for about a decade.
Correct. They may not have liked each other at the end of Jeffrey Epstein's life and Donald Trump going into the presidency, but there was rumors that Donald Trump wanted to give Jeffrey Epstein a cabinet position if he won the presidency.
And remember, he signed that Transparency Act under duress when some Republican women, congresswomen like Lauren Boebert, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, did not give in to his pressure of not signing. He brought Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room to pressure her into caving on not voting for that bill.
So let me respond to that. So
That's all true.
Let me respond to that. So number one is, yes, Donald Trump, and he said this, he knew Jeffrey Epstein back in the 1980s. He also threw Jeffrey Epstein out of his club when he found out he was a creep and reported him to the police. That's something that the media often misses when it reports the story. They tell the fact that they knew each other in the 80s, which the president himself admits. They ignore the fact that he narked on him to the police and led ultimately to JeffreyEpstein's downfall. To that point, Anna, you know the Republican Party. Well, it's one of the things that led to law enforcement investigation. But on the point that you made,
it was allegedly over a real estate deal that they got into a fight over.
But the email says
They
actually
didn't just know each other. Let's just be truthful and transparent here. They didn't just know each other.
He's in a lot of
They were
pictures.
incredibly close friends.
he reported him to the police. That's what I'm saying. That is objective. That is objectively true. But Anna made another point that I think I would be if I may, because Anna made a very important point. This question about, did Donald Trump release these files only under duress from Republicans? And Anna, you know the Republican Party probably better than I do. The idea that Donald Trump runs around afraid of Republican congressmen as opposed to the other way around is kind of crazy.
What was a bipartisan, though? It was Republicans and Democrats.
But because the Republicans control the House and the Senate, particularly the Senate, you need the Republican sign-off. What the president did is, look, I will say this. Again, I was in there in the meetings. He was very frustrated that the Democrats were making this about him when he's like, look, I threw the guy out of my club. I am the guy who reported him to the police, or one of the people who reported him to the police. The president was frustrated about that, absolutely. But he eventually came to say, you know what, let's just get everything out there. Let's have this out in the public. And he actually called the senators. I was there. He called the senators and said, you know what, pass this bill, I'll sign it. And that was it.
Well, then let me follow up briefly. Let me follow up briefly.
Yes.
It sounds like you believed that there would be men in the files who would be held accountable. Rightfully so. And the American people are with you on this. Why haven't we seen the release of over 2.5 million additional Epstein file documents? It's
because Trump is in a lot of those files. It ain't just his friends that he wants to keep safe. It's himself that he wants to keep safe. It's his public image. It's the idea that once people finally understand that Trump's in these files after he's like not president anymore, and they do like a documentary 25 years from now or something like that, Trump's all in those files. That's why.
Seems like you are someone that is on the right side of history on this.
So
Cap,
we've released, I
she's
think it's
lying.
6 million files or 6 million pages of documents. My understanding is the 2.5 million, Sonny. I'm going to check on this to make sure, but my understanding is that a lot of those are duplicates of things that have already been released.
So then release them, but we're not gonna have any questions.
we're not holding anything back. Some of those things are like the courts have to order you to release them. So that was one thing that we confronted. You talk about these situation room meetings is, there was a big bunch of files that existed, I think in the Southern District of New York, or maybe it was some other jurisdiction, but we were like, we want to release these files, but you need the court approval in order to release the files. Sometimes we would apply to release the files and the courts would say no. So those particular documents, I would need to actually know exactly what you're talking about.
3.5 million documents were released, and my understanding is 2.5 million have not been
Those
released.
may have been the ones that are under court. So I don't know what the documents
Can I
you're
ask you
talking
something?
about, but I'm telling you,
Let me go to
we're
break. Let me go to break.
Sure.
Let me go to break.
We have plenty
Because
of
people
time.
are looking at me, going.
And let's talk about the book. I'm here to sell books. Communion.
This all this is him trying to make sure his image is nice and clean, and him putting feelers out on how he can get as far away from Trump's toxic whatever the hell is going on situation as he can. And I don't think he's gonna pull it off the way he envisioned himself pulling it off, but got a little bit more to go. Let's check it out.
We are back with Vice President J.D. Vance. Sarah, you got the question.
Yes, Mr. Vice President. In your new book, Communion, you write about your personal evolution with faith from evangelical to atheist to Catholic convert. And you also explain your evolution similarly on Trump, from calling him America's Hitler to America's best hope. Now, as someone who has admitted to chasing ambition, which you write about in the book in the past, but now says your faith brought you back to your priorities, I have to kind of use your own words that sit with me from 2016.
Sure.
Fellow Christians, everyone is watching when we apologize for this man. Lord, help us. And I think about that all the time because as a fellow Christian, that is something that weighs on my heart as I watch this country and the leadership at the top, because it's also something I have to explain to my kids, which I know we also share, this idea that our greatest privilege and responsibility are these young people we're raising.
Of course.
So help me find the words to explain to my children what they're witnessing right now.
Well, first of all, it's been well covered that I was a critic of Donald Trump back in 2015 and 2016. Now, obviously, I'm sitting here as the Vice President of the United States in the Trump administration. Well, Joy, a little humility, actually. I think that when you make predictions and those predictions turn out to be false, you got to ask yourself, well, what made me wrong about that? What did I not understand or not appreciate? For example, I said that Donald Trump's economic policies would not lead to wage growth. They did in the first term. That was actually a major, major thing. I said that we couldn't bring back any of those factory jobs because I kind of had given into this idea that those jobs were disappearing. But actually, Donald Trump, you saw a manufacturing boom during that administration. So there's a certain point. Let me just.
This question.
So there's a certain point where you say, I made predictions about this. I ended up being wrong.
Yeah.
And in politics and anything, I think it's important to just say, you know what? I got some things wrong, and I was wrong about him. He was a very successful president. It's one of the reasons why I've been so supportive of him.
But you go on in the book to explain that good policy was maybe one of your justifications, but the quote, and when you tweeted that or X'd it, was not about policy. It was what Christians were willing to excuse. And that's the part I can't get past. What are you willing to excuse in the name of power? Get past. What Christians were willing to excuse. And that's the part I can't get past. What are you willing to excuse in the name of power?
Well, I would say fundamentally that one of the things I understand.
It was the quote explained.
He was a very successful president. It's one of the reasons why I've been so supportive of him.
But you go on in the book to explain that good policy was maybe one of your justifications, but the quote, and when you tweeted that or X'd it, was not about policy. It was what Christians were willing to excuse. And that's the part I can't get past. What are you willing to excuse in the name of power?
Well, I would say fundamentally that one of the things I underappreciated about Donald Trump is that so many of the things that people said about him weren't actually true. Again, you talk about humility. Okay, so I see Donald Trump, I see a clip of him, or I see not even a clip of him, but reporting about something that he said, and I take it at face value. For example, let's just go back to one of the most controversial things Donald Trump said during the first term that I was wrong during the first campaign, is that I was led to believe by the stories. I read stories that said Donald Trump said that all Mexicans were rapists. He never said that. What he said is that the certain South American countries, Central American countries, were releasing criminals into our country, including Mexico. By the way, that was objectively true. So it's not so much Christians.
Fidel Castro did that in 1980 with the Mariel boat lift. There have been many journalists, including CNN, where you used to work and be my colleague, that have tried to find evidence of that. There is no evidence that Maduro was releasing people from insane asylums or jails like Fidel Castro did do. This was made up, and we just can't, accept it without pushing back.
Anna, we know that there were people who were released from prisons who were encouraged to come into the United States.
It wasn't the Mariel, Mr. Vice President. It wasn't where it was like a purposeful release, open up the jails, open up the insane asylums, and let people flood Florida. I've been through that in Miami.
If you go, it may not have been like Mariel, but if you go back to the caravans that were happening in 22, 23, we know that those things were funded. They were in some ways supported by the government.
There was absolutely
so I don't know how you define support or not support, but if people are encouraged to come into our country after having spent time in prison by their own governments, I think that's a problem.
But, Vice President, can I just add one more thing? Because you do speak about immigration at length in this book.
Sure.
And I believe, as a Christian, I can tell my kids why it's important to have borders. I get that. There are laws, there are resources. I get all that things. It's much harder to explain when I see someone dragged out of a house or wrongly taken to a thing that isn't a violent criminal. It's a little more nuanced as a parent to try to say when someone's referred to as vermin or scum, when I teach them in school about people that have done that before, but this is different. It's very hard as a parent and a Christian to say both things.
And you actually say in the book, you talk about this. You talk about this struggle.
Excellent point. Excellent question. She is, I'm assuming, a conservative woman, and I'm going to assume voted for Trump. I'm not a View watcher. But I didn't even think about it like that. Like, she's trying to tell them, like, listen, we have Martin Luther King, we have, like, Rosa Parks and all these other people who did all these great things. Nazis used to call Jewish people vermin and rats and all this other stuff. But then she turns on, they turn on the TV or flip on a tablet or phone, what have you, and they see the president of the United States calling people vermin and scum. They see the voting rights being gutted. Like, how is she supposed to explain this to her kids and not make it seem like they are obviously on the wrong side of history? It's a good question. Because her as a white woman, I'm sure, she got to be perplexed. She probably thought this was never going to happen.
This internal struggle in the book, and you talk about moral trade-offs that result in favoring a strict migration policy without dehumanizing anyone. But listen, over 50 people have died in ICE custody. There are thousands of children, 6,200, that are being held in places like Dilley Detention Center. The people that have visited those detention centers, I don't know if you have, talk about the subhuman, infrahuman conditions, the lack of clean water, the lack of medical attention, the lack of education. I would urge you as a Christian and as a father to visit those detention centers where the children are being held and make sure that the conditions are up to the values that we hold in this country.
So you guys have thrown a lot at me, and I see we got 30 seconds left here. But let me say, number one,
Vice President, you can go long.
I'd like to pick.
He's trying to get the hell up out of there. They're making it too real, right? They're peeling the curtain back too far, explaining, hey, yo, listen, you actually have power. There are people being held in detention centers, concentration camps, children being mistreated, now malnourished, rotten food, mistreatment from guards and all this other stuff. People are dying. You can do something about it. What are you going to do? Shout out to Anna for that. Big shout out to Anna for that one.
Pick up on this theme because I think it's really important. We do have to strike a balance, of course, between enforcing our laws. We don't want to dehumanize people. That is the balance that, look, law enforcement, what I'd say about this, law enforcement is always inherently not a very pretty process, especially when you're dealing sometimes with violent people, with people who are resisting arrest. Some of the people that I've been told by the media were completely peaceful, had never violated any laws. You actually look into the record and you find out that those people were actually being violent, or they did have a criminal record.
Guys.
They had a sex trafficking conviction.
Don't have criminal records. The majority of people that ICE is rounding up and taking out of their homes from their families, they're separating families. They're using children as bait.
But
the majority are not criminals.
But can I respond to that, guys? Let me just say this. Okay. So you talk about the children. Here's what I'd say. Do we know that during the last administration, we had tens of thousands of children who were sex trafficked by the cartels, who were brought into our country in profoundly dangerous and predatory conditions?
Let's talk about this administration.
But here's the point. Unless you enforce the border, you invite that kind of conduct. You think that our immigration policies are inhumane based on the reporting of one person with a political bias. What I'm telling you is that it's inhumane to allow cartels.
No. We think it's inhumane because we can see. We can see what you're doing. We can read. We're paying attention. People are reporting on what's being done. You're sending them to see a concentration camp in fucking Venezuela. Or wherever the hell god-awful South American country they sent it to. You have to be joking.
Tells to sex traffic people across our border.
And by the way,
please hold on.
I appreciate that. We're going to get you back, Anna.
We're coming back.
In my opinion, JD Vance is not built for this. He's really not. I think what he was trying to do and what his team is trying to do was cue him up for this next election, because Donald Trump is probably not going to make it. Even I think if Donald Trump could go for a third term, he would go, but I think even Trump knows it ain't happening, Captain. JD Vance is not charismatic. He's not that bright. He doesn't come across as that bright anyway. I mean, for all I know, he's a genius, okay? I really don't know that much. I haven't dived into who he is that much yet. He's not funny. You know, like he's awkward. Nobody's gonna want to vote for that guy because he's kind of lame. And it makes sense that Peter Thiel would pick him to be his little Manchurian candidate, you know, because Peter Thiel is also all those things, you know. Listen, that's the video. Like, subscribe, please. Check out some of our other videos, some of my other videos. Put a lot of work into them. We got about 3 or 4 more subscribers. I appreciate you. Welcome to the channel. Peace and love. All right, we're gonna head on up out of here. May the good Lord bless your bones, as the old folks used to say. I'm DJ Pinhead. Nixon. Bye.
And if I blow, no, it's been corrosive, strutting down this muddy road, made more friends than foes. Did so many shows, said yes to a lot of them. Few weeks later, I don't hear peep out of them. You gotta stay focused on goals, don't ever switch up. Keep applying pressure while these other artists hiccup. Dripped up from the socks to the cloth, that's on my head top. Trying to stay close to